This is where real conversations turn into real growth, where how you think, how you move, and what you stand on actually matters. Because being real world ready, that's not something you say, that's something that you live. And today, we're tapping into that mindset: business, accountability, discipline, and what it really takes to stand on square business. So don't just listen, lock in. We've got the voices behind Square Bidness podcast here today, Mr. Rodney Sewell and Mr. Curtis Adams. This is Collective Conversations. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
So I'm starting off. We'll just have Mr. Adams. Will you just tell us your story and how you got here today?
And so without boring you about all the details, man. Born and raised in good old Beckley, came from come from good stock. So I like to thank my family some good stock, man. I went away for a while, went down to North Carolina, was in school down there, came back, went down again for another degree. And, when I came back up to Beckley, because Beckley was always, wasn't exactly the plan to come back, but job I was working at down there, man, they said, hey, we got an opening in your hometown. Would you like to go back? And I was like, I said, God, you're going to have to make this a way, because I just say that wasn't where I was planted, but, worked it on out, came on back. And when I came back, started kicking it and getting into really what was going on with the community. Started to see things, wanted to make impacts, things like that. So I do a lot of work in mental health and suicide prevention, health spaces, and then of course ministry. So kind of just long journey and long way around where you think you're going down one path, man, and somehow it gets directed another way. So that's kind of how I came back to being here in Beckley and even in my job situation and stuff like that, and of course connected with old friends as always, man. So that's my 5-minute soapbox speech.
But real quick, but it's just not just the other degree. I mean, both of them very valuable, but the second degree, just a little.
So first degree was in biology pre-med. I wanted to be a doctor, pediatrician, cardiologist. Right, so I really wanted to go into that space, right? Came out, did the MCATs, all that type of stuff, but also wanted to do military.
Right.
My mama said she, God bless you, love you, mama. She didn't want me to go into the military. I was her only baby boy. So she was like, no, that's not going to happen. The recruiter was calling and everything. And she was like, no. So I went ahead and did what she said, which was go get my degree. And I was like, man, I'm going to go be a doctor. I ended up working in the lab instead. But I was like, man, I'm going back to get another degree. So that was in my Master's of Divinity that I did with Wake Forest. And at the time when I went, man, I was like, I don't know why I'm even going. Because I'm one of those people. I grew up, I was like, man, you don't need no degree to preach.
Right.
That's God given, God appointed. So I was like, you know what, let me just go check it out, because everything was pointing, man. And within a month, I got I think it was 3 letters of recommendation. I got 50% scholarship, and then on my birthday, I got my acceptance.
Wow.
So and I mean directly in a month, because I went down there, asked for the letters, everybody sent it in within 2-3 weeks. Got accepted, got a scholarship, man. And while I was there, they told me about this thing called chaplaincy. So I was like, man, what is this type of work? I'm curious what chaplaincy is. So did an internship down at Wake Medical, which is now Atrium. Man, loved it immediately. I was actually working with pediatric unit. So I was working with kids every day, providing chaplaincy care with them, teenagers, they're of all backgrounds. And by the time I finished, man, I was working in a hospital. And I was in a hospital, but I wasn't there in the same way that I thought I was going to go. So, praise be to God, because it was all ordained for me to get that Master of Divinity and also open up a new pathway.
Right. And that's great. This is your third time being here. So you're not a guest anymore. You're just
not a guest anymore. I'm part of the family.
That's right. Exactly right. Tell us a little bit about yourself, though, again.
I grew up in East Beckley as well. good family. Had a little struggles. It was rough coming up over that way, but made it out. Graduated high school, went off to Potomac State for a year, transferred to Marshall, got my undergrad in psychology, went on, got my master's in social work, and I've been working in community corrections, the Raleigh County Day Report Center, Uptown Beckley, for 3 years now. I've been in the building for about 7 years. So I have case management and counseling experience. Been doing photography for almost 7 years now, and now we're doing the podcast. So me personally, I'm involved in a lot of things now, but I'm just trying to be, everything I can be and everything that I think I should be.
Right. And like I said, we're here because it's Square Bidness podcast, right? And talking about that. Tell us a little bit about how that came about. I know you childhood friends. I get that part. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we reconnected on the golf course. I'll let you tell that part.
Man, so I got back, man, and I had been in the golf for a while, but I was really just like, I got back to Beckley and I was like, man, I really got the time and the finance to really kind of do it now. So we were out on the golf course. I hit him up and I was like, man, get you some clubs, come on out there with us, man. So, knew he had a good swing back in the day, but man, I didn't know it was as good as it is. So during that time, I tell people all the time, the best business you can do in any place is usually a golf course, because you got 18 holes, you take 4 or 5 hours just out there, and you get to really know somebody and talk with somebody about things. So we got to talking about, community, the work he does, the work I do, and that intersectionality that we talk about, right? So it came about, we were originally wanting to do like a golf course vlogging type deal, and
it was supposed to be a golf content channel with a little bit of a mental health aspect to it.
Right.
So really, just like you said, just out there having organic conversations while having a little bit of fun, doing what we do. But we found out it's hard to record and play good at the same time. So, but yeah, I used to play when I was young, when I was a teenager. Wish I would have stuck with it, but God had other plans. But yeah, around last September is when we really started talking about, starting the channel. We really didn't want to call it a podcast at first, but it just kind of turned into that because that's just the way things are going these days. So, but I'm glad that we did it. But it's been almost a year in the making, so we've been doing it ever since last June.
You're on your second season, right?
Yep, on our second season right now. About to wrap that up here soon. A couple more episodes that we plan on putting out, and then we'll start on season 3. Right now, I've been working on trying to add extra segments to the show just to keep the viewers engaged in it and make them feel like part of the conversation.
Right.
So, but it's been going really well so far.
Yeah. And I've seen I've seen them, and I like that because it's community focused. Right. And that's the key. I mean, a lot of this, and we've talked before, but a lot of different podcasts go different direction. I mean, for whatever reason, which gets more likes at sometimes when it gets, kind of out there, but yours is not gossip based, ours isn't either. So that's a good thing as well. I think we had spoke about that a little bit before. But you said it's not what you say it's not the ratchet channel.
Yeah, it's definitely not the ratchet channel. So if that's what
right.
you're looking for, this ain't the channel for you. But we definitely want to keep it positive. We're all about uplifting other people, trailblazers, change makers in the community, whether it be a fellow business owner or just somebody trying to make a change out there. Really doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's positive, because we consume so much negative stuff every day. And so we just want to do something different for the city.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the negativity sells. It's what get clicks, it's what gets comments, it's what get liked. But, when we started out on this, it was really about highlighting those folks that go overlooked. You got a lot of people in this community that are doing the good work, but they don't have, the platform, so to speak.
Right.
So when we started this, and we started looking, for people, because everybody wants, they tell you, oh, you got to get this big name, that big name. Well, what about, the little name person over here that's just starting their own business that might need a little bit of a push? What about the person that's doing this good work in this space over here that can serve our community a little bit better than, another vape shop, so to speak, or something like that.
Right.
But, I think that's been probably the part that I've kind of enjoyed the most, is just highlighting a lot of those people that are doing good boots on the ground, solid work.
Right. Right. I think so this live event, I think is going to really bring you all to the showcase, really that square business to the showcase to see what you all do and what a podcast really does. How'd you come up with the live part though? Tell me about that a little bit.
And I'll be real with you. It started out almost as a joke. And one thing that I found out with this guy, man, if you present an idea, his mind's gonna go to working on, making it a reality. And we talked about it, we kind of mentioned it, and we started getting bits and pieces here. And the next thing I know, he said, "Hey man, I got a venue." And I'm saying,
Oh wow.
I said, "Oh, we doing this." So, I was gonna say, you mind if we go ahead? Was it May 16th?
Yeah, always.
Yeah, May 16th, 6 p.m., Raleigh Playhouse and Theater. Right now, we got 30 tickets that were donated to people who might not have been able to afford the tickets.
Exactly.
Tickets are only $10, but we're definitely gonna get those 30 tickets to people who would like to be there and who need it. But yeah, like Curtis said, man, I try to live my life now. Like, man, you only got one shot, so what's the point of sitting around talking about what we could do instead of just, trying it? If it doesn't work, try something else. But I just don't want to look back and be like, man, we could have did so much to help out, or, even though we're not out for personal gain, you never know where it could land us.
Of course not.
One day.
Of course not. I mean, here in Beckley, that's what I kind of spoke about before. Really, showing that we got great things here in Beckley going on as well.
Yeah.
And this is where we live. So why wouldn't we want it to be, our community to be, definitely, uplifted in a positive way, not so much a negative. We know, me and you were at, something today that, kind of talk about West Virginia being on the other end of that with some opioid use and things like that, being in tops of the nation, stuff you don't really want. You really want, that to decrease and also the positivity to increase. And that's, I think, like I said, with your podcast and having people on that helps, having the guest speakers on that helps. And you have some, right? On May 16th, you have some powerful ones coming up as well.
I was gonna say, man, with Michelle Tunstall, Trina Tellez, and Courtney Settle, man. So it's not just us up there like you see on the regular podcast on the YouTube channel and stuff like that. So, that live show, we're really wanting to give you not just the regular show, but also give you some other folks with different perspectives. Some that have been on the show before, others that haven't, but I think it's good to have that mix of both the male perspective and the woman's perspective, because man, it's needed now more than ever. I feel like
we spoke before, Rodney, about the fact of some viewership, right? I know you're the numbers guy, right? And in this bunch here, but what I saw, just the little numbers I've seen, a lot of times, a lot of women, watch a lot of the shows that we have, right? Which is a good thing. Males too, don't get me wrong. But so I think it is good to have a blend like you are having, of women and men on the show. We, like I said, I just realized, like, when we went to this community event, and this is nothing against males, but we had a break. So we could go use the restroom. Well, the women, their line was way down there, and then you could go right on in the men like it wasn't nothing. So, definitely getting more male viewership or, more males involved. It's a big thing, I think, would be a good thing, because I think they need to know this. I'm not saying that, talking negative. I just think, maybe they are watching, because I think, we had talked before, people do watch. Sometimes, maybe that's a following, of course it may not, appear in numbers, but it is a following. But people, just out of the blue, I'm sure, come up to you all and say, "Hey, you're doing a good job."
They do. We both had multiple people come up to us on various occasions, saying that they like the podcast and all that good stuff. And in my head, I'm like, okay, well, can you like and share it for us? So, but as long as we're reaching people and we know that they're watching, the numbers really don't matter to us. then that's a conversation we had in the beginning. If it blows up, if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. As long as we can touch somebody and probably like spark a change in them, then I say we did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, you don't go into anything looking to fail, but also, it's better to try and fail spectacularly than to not try at all. And that's part of what I enjoy about our dynamic is that I'm one of those spontaneous, like, oh man, this is be a good idea. Then he'll come back with the more numbers or technical side of it. And then I'm just like, man, let's push it, let's support it, let's do it. And we kind of push each other in that aspect where it's good work together, man. And we just, people talk about you get in flow state or vibe well together. That's this guy right here, man.
And we don't care about being in the limelight or who's the face of the show and all that mess, man. It's all about the message.
It is. And you're right, because some of our better shows, they were on here. I wasn't even here, but I like that because I don't think it, like you said, it's centered all around that as well. But I think you having the guest speakers will be a big thing as well, and maybe inspire them to do something. If not similar, but definitely something in the help field. Because, like I said, when you talk about community-based things, you don't always see that I don't always see it, and sometimes I do, but I don't always see that on the in the podcasting and things of that nature. You don't always see that as well, but it is good. That's why I said it's good to see yours because it's definitely different. I like, the way the setting is. It seems like a kind of relaxed setting. It looks like a radio station to me in a way. I like it. Right? Was that?
I said it to him the other day. It had like a real homey feel to it, which I very much liked.
Well, we shoot it in my office, just up the street right here. So
right,
I kind of wanted it to be set up like that.
Yeah.
Because I study other podcasts, so I'm like, well, maybe this will help retain viewership if I set it up this way. So that's what we did, and I like to I call myself a master of lighting because of photography. So that plays a big part in it.
I think, because like I said, when we started, we were kind of in the corner over there and just, well, not actually even in this office, in my other office, but it was just one of those things, could think of it a little better, but sometimes the plan kind of comes together,
That's what caught us up in the beginning is when we were, in those development stages, just talking about how we wanted to do it, but not getting started yet. So the best way to get started is just to get started.
Right.
And so that's what we finally did. And then we were actually surprised by the reception that we got from starting it.
That's it. I mean, I think you're right. I mean,
in my head, I'm thinking everything's supposed to be perfect, but nobody's looking at it the same way I am.
You're right. I think, like you said, if the positivity and community focus is what it's about, I think that they're getting that. I mean, from your show, that's what I get from it. I mean, I like the laughter, and then we don't always we do, but sometimes I don't know. It's not that I say let's be serious. We don't really have a script or anything, but it's like we have topics to go over. But I see you all like. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, that you kind of peel back a little bit and get some laughter out of it as well. I mean, we just mess up a lot, but we just don't put it out there. That's the only that's don't. Well, I do. I shouldn't say we. I do a lot.
I do too.
That's the thing.
I think that's the thing is when you mess up, man, sometimes it's good that people see it because I say people expect you to just cross every T and dot every I.
Right.
Man, it doesn't happen. And touching on what you said, the atmosphere, the welcoming presence. A lot of times it's hard to get that type of presence from folks, and the light. It really matters. Like the seating arrangement, lighting, all that type of stuff. Because at first we were just like, "Hey, set the camera up, let's go."
That's true. That's true.
So I mean, as we've grown and learned, it's just about trying to make it more inviting, right? So just so that people can be their authentic self. Because I don't want you to just be up here and just put your mask on your performative self. Nah, we want real conversation.
Right. I mean, I think it is. I think I not only go by that, like showcasing you on here, a lot of times what I felt was like, I want to celebrate people. Like I want to celebrate you all because I think that's a good thing that you're doing. And not all the time and I'm not saying you want it, but it does. You never know who might catch you. I might want to do what those guys do. You know what I mean? In the positive space. I'm not talking about the negative one. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. So, and we just never know who we might inspire by this even coming on and, having people on. So I think, and you've done that too, because so you have some powerful guests on there as well. I mean, and it kind of, the stories they tell is like, wow, and only to me, the atmosphere that you give sometimes let them let go a little bit more, and that's a good thing.
It's definitely a therapeutic aspect to it. And even just being the interviewer, it can be therapeutic because you learn something from that person that you might not have known. You might have your questions prepared and, you're already in preconceived notions about whatever the topic is. But, later on in that conversation, they might spark your mind and be like, hey, I never thought about, that like that. Right. And then that can apply to other people that you meet. And now you know how to maneuver through life a little bit better. So you come out being a better person is what I mean.
And I believe that. I do believe that. Tell me about the guests though, when you I'm sure there's some type of, I wouldn't say vetting, but I guess it would be. Sort of.
We do, there's an intentionality that goes into, who comes on as a guest or who we invite in. But the first thing is when we have an idea of who we want, there's always a conversation that we at least have, or there's always a reaching out and saying, hey, we got this person coming on. And I believe Rodney trusts my judgment on certain folks, same way I trust his judgment on certain folks. Because, you can't have everybody on, because once you start something like this, everybody's like, oh, you should have me on, or oh man, wait till you get a real one on there. And I'm like, hey, chill out. First and foremost, man, and Rodney has a saying, I'll let him tell it about how he feels when it comes to getting certain guests on. And not for me, it's usually just about, okay, what is your intention? And would I trust you just to not go off rails sometimes?
And it's not that we're trying to censor anybody. We want everybody to be able to express themselves freely. But it's a little decorum to that still.
Of course.
Of course. So as long as they have a clear message and it can benefit other people,
right,
and not just themselves, then we're all for that. For example, like with business owners, of course they want to promote themselves and get themselves out there. Gung ho, we're gung ho for that. But then you have some that just want to get on there and, everybody's got something to say. And somebody might say something controversial on your channel. You don't have no control over that. Right. But we don't want to censor you, but it's just, if you're not aligning with what our mission is, then it just doesn't make business sense.
But, one of the things I like, really a testament to your show though, is when Curtis said people want to come on there, and that's a good thing though. I'm not saying everyone, but to be relaxed enough to come up to you and say, listen, because they know they gotta watch it, so they know kind of what the show's about. Are we gonna trust them, get on there and do I don't know that, but that's another story. But definitely wanting to be eager to get out there, it just shows me that they're comfortable, with what you're doing, and that's a good thing. But like you said, of course, you got to kind of have some individuality to who you get on. But I think that's a big thing when you say it with the people, because then they're watching, and it's something different, and they're willing to speak. Because we've had people on too sometimes, and like I said, there's just stuff that I didn't know a lot about, like Bitcoin and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Apparently, it's not anything wrong with it, but I just don't know a lot about it. So it was good to listen to that.
Yeah, I think like you said, when you learn something that you never knew before, man, I enjoy stories. Man, I enjoy people's stories because your own lived experience, how you came to be, or how you show up in the world, how you got in your profession. It's like sitting there with a couple of our guests, man, and knowing that they started on a similar trajectory, right? They were in this city, and then they went somewhere, had met people, encountered people, got into grassroots organizations down there and tried to bring it back. I love when I hear a story of somebody that experienced something in a different place and then tried to bring it with them and plant it in a new place, because a lot of people just think, oh, I got to go, over there and get into what they in. Well, there's nothing wrong with starting your own.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with coming back or giving to a community that doesn't have.
Right.
Because I mean, we live in a small community, man, and a lot of times what they have over there is what we need here.
Right.
And why not be the person that starts that and sparks it? You may not be the person that has the most successful version of it, but you can say you were part of the foundation for sure.
Of course. And while you say that, it's a good segue to get into what I was going to ask you, both from East Beckley or grew up in East Beckley, right? We spoke about this before, but just really, going by, and seeing Stratton Elementary, right? And the park that they built, the very nice park that they built, basketball court and all, and now being used in the way that it is by, all the kids kind of gathering up over there. How good is it for you to see that? I know you say, I was a kid.
I haven't lived over that way in about 15 years, but I mean, I still ride through every now and then. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It reminds me of back in our day, I think we're in our 30s. I'm in my early 30s. He's what, 35?
Mid 30, 35.
Mid 30s. So, late 90s, early 2000s, I feel like our generation was the last to like really enjoy life before the internet.
Right.
So, we were out playing and running around, riding bikes and all that good stuff. So I love to see kids outside playing. And, I just love to see it. It looks a little weird when I go over that way now because I haven't been over there in so long. It looks a lot different, but I love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm still on the same block, man. Right. Still on the same square, so to speak. But like you said, when you think about even that old school, right? How we used to, be back in the day, jump over that fence to go play ball at the basketball course that was right there. You play, throw up, get bust up in the field that was right there, right in front of that field house. Right. You played Pee Wee football a few years back in the day with the East Beckley Wildcats, and that was the home field, man. To see it, and then just seeing the transformation to this new space, and even the new courts, man, and seeing people out there. Because back when we was growing up, wasn't no lights.
Right.
So, sun went down, you was out there just trying.
So,
but yeah, see it now with the kids out there, even till like 2 a.m. sometimes, just playing on the weekends, man. It does my heart good. And I go out there and man, I see kids that I now coach in different sports, or I've seen them do, other things like social studies fairs, man. They come up to me and they'll talk to me, hey coach, what's going on?
Right.
And like even parents would just be sitting out there. They're like, why does my kid know you? Like, that I think I enjoy being a part of that community, still. And it's not just, the brush, so to speak.
Right.
But seeing the other parts of the community too.
And I think that's why I said then it was important even when you came up with the idea to go live with the podcast. And because I don't know too many other than yours. I mean, I haven't looked. I guess people do have them, but around this area, I just don't know. I mean, of course, Communiversity, which Dr. Stewart from West Virginia Tech has, so that's a great one as well. It's just like I said, but those are the things that when you would kind of see it live, just like anything. I don't know about you with music, right? It means it's a little different when you hear it live than when you just hear it on your stereo or something like that as well. Right. So to see that, there could be, some people that really want to, get some traction to want to do their own thing, or maybe not like yours, but just something to get the word out, even kids, right? And I think it's a good thing as well when you see the people playing in East Beckley and everywhere. They play, but I'm just East Beckley specifically because of the new park. It is good. It's just really getting them involved. Maybe not in this, but just some things that are very positive as well. But just by a park, how things could kind of swing things, right? Because we got to act, we got to act right at the park too as well.
Man, I'm so glad that you said that, man, because I've seen a couple posts even this last week, right? Not just East Beckley, but also in East Park, man. We got to find ways to make sure, because if we don't take care of what we have, we will lose it. Right. And then you'll lose access, you'll lose the ability, because you have kids out here that are scared, and terrified because of certain stuff that happens. So, it's good to see the kids out playing again, but we got to make sure that it's a safe space. Right. That means picking up after yourselves. I tell some of the kids, I see them out there, it's a little bit of trash. I say, hey man, just at least pick it up. And trash cans right there. Can you at least pick up just a little bit of trash? If you pick up 3 pieces of garbage for me, we good. And if you ask the kids to do it, they don't mind it. I say some of them might ask why, and you'd be like, man, look, we're just trying to make sure that you're using this area. Make sure you keep it safe for the next person and you come back and use it. So, we gotta, like I said, just make sure we take care of what we got.
And I believe, once they start to see, people more in the community, you can go to them and ask that and say, can you, and show that we can do it as well. I think, and like I said, a lot when you talk about trailblazers and things like that, that's what you are becoming. I mean, and that with that though becomes, it carries a lot of respect too as well. But I mean, what we do with it is another thing. That's why being grounded is a big thing as well. I'd be amiss to tell you because we talked a little bit about your journey, Curtis, right?
Yeah.
Both men of God, right? I would be amiss not to talk about that as far as how it incorporates in your show, right? Or sometimes, but I mean, we've had pastors on and things like that. What about yourselves? How do you incorporate God in it?
I think that it just kind of happens naturally, like especially when it's just us and we don't necessarily have a guest on that particular episode. Conversation just flows naturally, like Curtis said. We kind of hit a flow state, and God will always slip his way into something positive because without him, there is none. So there is no positivity. So it's just a natural connection that we have. So I think that he is. I wouldn't say he's the core of the show, but he's
definitely foundation for me.
Right.
It's foundational.
Yeah. I get it. I mean.
Touching a little bit on that, I think a lot of it's just, what you poured in is eventually going to pour out. The part of me for going scripture, based for a second, man.
That's fine.
But, I fully believe in that, trust in the Lord God in all your ways and let him direct your path, right? I fully believe that he, directed my path back here, reconnecting with him. And then even when it goes on the show, man, like there are times he'll tell you I'm more introverted, even though nobody believes me.
Right.
But there's times when we do a show together, man, we haven't really had a premise or anything or a type of script, man, and I end up being more vulnerable than I even care to be.
Right.
And I'll be frustrated with myself and everything, and then the episode come out and people are like, man, I really need to hear that.
Right.
Or,
Right.
we really need to see more of that or see that. And I'm thinking, man, look, if it was up to me, you would not have seen that. And, I'll get a compliment or I'll hear something and I'm just like, man, I just got to give thanks to God because had I not allowed him to let me, be vulnerable or say that type of thing, or had we not, listened, just in the midst of changing conversation, who say that somebody wouldn't have heard that and then took it in themselves and moved in a positive way.
And I guess you could say that God is a core part of the show, now that you put it that way, and because it touched somebody else. Somebody reached out to him and was like, man, I really need to hear that. Like, you never know what kind of day somebody is having, so you could have saved a life by being vulnerable. Most people would be reluctant to go on a podcast because nobody wants to be.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable.
You're right. You're right.
And you don't want to say something that most people would think, I don't want to say something controversial, or I don't want to embarrass myself or my family on here.
Right.
But that was one thing, and that's kind of what held me up a little bit because I was like, do I really want to tell my family story? But I've never been uncomfortable telling my story. But if it can help somebody else, I figure why not, man? Because one, you're never as important as you think you are. You think that if I tell all my business, it's not on the same level as, for example, a famous person going on a podcast and telling their whole life story, and then everybody. You see it all the time. Like Will Smith, for example. They crucifying that man online. for the things that he's going through, but nobody's really in his shoes,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But there are people out there
No, you're right.
that can relate to him and that can appreciate the things that he shares.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. I'd be like, why not share?
Right. I mean, I think, because you've been, guest on there before, and it's not us prying, you know what I mean? Because I think it could go there, because a lot of things, sometimes are kind of, you just never know when you get on air, like you said about vulnerable, I sometimes have to watch, not because I don't want to tell it, but it may not be the right time, to kind of get into it, just different things that went on in my life. Only reason why I'm fine with talking about them, but I just don't want to, it to be looked at. I mean, I'm fine with, if you look at me, God, changed my life. So I'm fine with that. Right. But sometimes it's hard, we had a guest on here before who God had changed his life.
Right.
And he was more or less like, well, why he didn't say it to him, but he was just saying like that. So, but I had to explain to him that everybody's not ready at that point, and that's the thing. It's like, one of those times. It might not be the point for them to come out. That's why I said in the show, we don't always try to, make you poor, hey, I do want to celebrate you, right? But to a certain extent, I don't want it to have to be hurtful. Right, what I mean? You come outside and you kind of fracture, you get ripped off the Band-Aid, and it's like, wow,
It's funny, man, because like you said, when you have guests, right, and but just by nature of being a minister, right, sometimes I do look at the podcast as ministry, just in a certain context, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not there to proselytize or fire and brimstone you, and I like I tell people, I have holiness Pentecostal background and Baptist background. Right. So I say I've been through the fire, I've been tried by all of it. So I love seeing the story, but a lot of times folks will be like, man, if I come on there, will y'all try to throw Jesus at me? And so I tell people, look, your walk is your walk.
Right.
I said, I'm not here to make you get baptized today. I said, more than likely, if it's whatever you're comfortable with. I said, some people, not everybody's gonna have the same beliefs as me.
Exactly.
And you know what? That's okay.
Yeah. Right.
Like, granted, yes, preacher all day, believe in Jesus. Not gonna change.
Right.
Not for the foreseeable future.
Right.
But also, you might be at the early part of your walk.
Right.
You may not even want to walk.
Right.
But if we're going to have a genuine conversation, I got to let you be you and tell your story and walk your path. So, I mean, that's just where we at with it.
But I'm glad you mentioned that about, about guests, kind of going on there thinking that's what, and I think that's what it is. It's like, but it's a relationship.
Yeah.
It's relationship, is really what it is. I mean, a lot of times, and, we try to, bring guests on so they can talk about the relationship of, with Jesus Christ, with God that they have. Just to show, like you said, reach out to that person who doesn't know that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's not the only thing. But like you said before, it can kind of drive people away. I would think, but there's no judgment here. You know what I mean? Other than the fact that it's love. Don't get me wrong. But love don't always look like hey, it doesn't always look that way. Yeah. But it doesn't always have to look away to where you feel shunned as well. And I think it's a lot of what we gotten into at times. Not all the time, at times. Definitely not on our shows, but definitely at times you see that. But I'm glad I'm glad, but we wouldn't be here if we couldn't address that topic, because people might be thinking, but it isn't that, because there isn't any judgment, but it's definitely uplifting and showing some of the works that come out of faith. Let's just put it that way.
And that's exactly what we go for and what we want. We want it to feel like, if you come on the show, we just want it to feel like you just kicking it with us,
right?
And just being vulnerable and feeling safe. And that's another reason why we wanted to do the live show, is to see people face to face, make them feel like they're part of the conversation, and give them a space to express things that maybe they haven't been able to talk about for a long time.
And again, that's May 16th, 6:00, Raleigh Playhouse Theater. I think it's really important to plug that. It's really important for people to go out and see it. It is. I mean, like I told you before, I think it's great seeing things live. I'm so super excited. You have like guests on there as well. So they can get a little different swerve of what it is as well. I mean, have you ever done multiple? Have you done multiple
guests? No, we haven't been able to because of our production setup. We're able to have 3, so we can have it could be me, him, and one guest. If he's not able to make an episode, then I could probably have 2 guests on there, and vice versa. So that's our setup right now.
Yeah.
We would love to have multiple guests.
Good.
So we're working towards that. Production equipment costs money.
But that's you're right. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And you got to know how to work it, like what I showed you.
Yeah.
But that's a little. But it is. You're right. It is that. I mean, I'm so super excited. Like I said before. So you'll be going into a new arena too. Then, right? Multiple guests you'll have. Right.
Yeah.
That's
Live.
multiple. I would say that's multiple. Have y'all, as a team, taken a little bit of time to like discuss how y'all gonna operate that different dynamic of like having a live show, having a multiple guests?
We've brainstormed a little bit. Like we've touched bases and we have a concept. I mean, we'll probably do some more here soon, hopefully. But I think that's one of the things I think that I'm excited about when it comes to the group we have is nobody's so high ego that they, got to dominate the conversation. Like you said, our production setup is what it is. But if he told me, we want to do 2 guests, and I tell him, I was like, all right, I'll just be there for emotional support, man. If you want to take point on that, go ahead.
Yeah. If he wants to interview somebody, I'll stick behind the camera because I do that anyway. So I would have no problem doing that. Whatever pushes the channel forward.
I'm not laughing at that, but we've had like. Remember, we had like for Christmas, we had like people lying all the way up in there. I mean, we just did. I mean, that like a show to the show. I don't think we need to be more production. It's production focused, but sometimes I mean, but it's not a joke. It's just a fact. I think sometimes, just getting the word out. At that time, we were talking about something that maybe needed multiple people, so we just brought them in. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of times, but seeing your show makes me think you're putting, not that we don't, but you're putting a lot into this. That's why I said, that's why I really wanted you on to really showcase the fact that, I mean, you're in this. I mean, you're in this. I mean, it's something that you're passionate about. You were passionate about as a youngster, right?
Yeah, call myself one to be a YouTuber, man. And, I just didn't have the right stuff to do it at that point. It was around like right before COVID hit. Okay. I was pondering with the idea, and then COVID hit, and you got all that free time, and I had just got into my first place being on my own, and I was playing around. I've always been into like music production, so I already know how to use a soundboard and audio interfaces and all that kind of stuff. So the idea was always in my head, but at that point, I just wasn't ready to do it. But ever since I got into photography, having multiple hybrid cameras that can do both photo and video, I just decided to take a step out there and give it a shot. So it's been working so far. So it's good. I ain't got no complaints.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I said this before, but it's just like, your show and what you're doing, giving back to community. It makes me feel good because, I've known you since you was a little kid, like riding bikes, right? And then all of a sudden he pops up. I'm like, why he pops up, suit tie, doing the counseling and things like that. I mean, it's amazing to see, but it takes a village to do these things too as well, right? I mean, that takes a lot of,
I had a lot of help along the way.
But that's why I said, I think we talked a little bit, but this may be in a different, but it may not be in a different genre because I mean, everybody's watching things, in spurts. So they could watch your show in spurts and say, oh, shoot, and they can inspire to do this. So I think getting it out there is a good thing.
Piggybacking off that, man, I think, like you said, it's a new thing, right? I think our kids, our youth, and even some of the adults need to see you don't have to follow the traditional routes. Everybody trying to be the next ball player, football, basketball, everybody trying to be the next rapper. But, what about the next doctor, the next physical therapist or a psychiatrist, the
plumbers, electricians, we still need those things.
Right.
Look, but maybe the next golfer, instead of following your hoop dreams,
right.
like a lot of it's just putting that stuff out there. Like where he was part of this thing or what, had an idea of this thing. I had never wanted to be in front of the camera. So, for me, I was like, oh, I'm always be the background person, but it is what it is. Once you follow new ventures or follow new leads, man,
Right.
it's always, fun.
And I think, for me, this is an important show to me with you all here because I want to crush that competition type stuff. You know what I mean? I want to crush all. I don't want that because that's not support. Way bigger than competition. I think we spoke before a little bit about competition. Really, I mean, it ruins a lot of things. I mean, I just say it. I know, people are involved in a lot of things, but in the grand scheme of things, is that the focal point of everything? I think the togetherness, right? Especially in sports or whatever it may be. But I think that's where we lack. I'm not saying it's a Beckley thing. I think it's a worldly thing sometimes about competition and not supporting others.
Yeah. What's more prevalent in small communities like ours, and I think that people always talk about the crabs in the barrel mentality, but I don't think they really understand what that really means. And I think for us being in the Black community, our problem is we're trying to appeal to our community first.
Right.
And we feel like if there's competition, there's only so many of us. Right. So somebody's got to have their attention. When really we're thinking way too small.
Right.
We shouldn't just, of course, we want to push our community forward and we want to see good things for our people, but we need to appeal to everybody. The message needs to be universal.
Exactly.
And there's so many more people around here than we realize that we could appeal to.
You're exactly
and there's enough space for everybody to do that.
I think so.
Because we can't get them all. So that's how we look at it.
And that's why I said I'm super excited to have you on. Like I told you before, and anytime, we can do anything. I just think, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, man. Epiphany moment, right? Because I think, talk about the competition piece. We have now, I think about it in three ways. I think I've told you before. You got the younger generation that has the strength and the energy to do stuff. You got those that are in the middle that got a little bit of the wisdom and some of the strength. And then you have the older generation who has all of the wisdom, but none of the strength or the energy to do it.
Right.
So when we talk about competition, man, a lot of times it's being a bridge berry, which is what I think we are. Like we're all bridge builders here at this table because we're bridging the gap between younger generation and also the older generation. And we're trying, we all have those mentors that we see too, but we also know all these young people that we saw either grow up or we're watching them actively grow up. And we're trying to find ways to bridge that gap, man. It's kind of, I think we've used the analogy of art. Like I can appreciate somebody else's art. I can appreciate somebody else's craft. I can see what they're doing over there and see what y'all are doing over here, man. And I could be like, oh man, that's a way I've never thought about doing something. Or, I like the way that they got XYZ set up, and then even if, y'all saw something from us and I was like, man, let's try to adapt something similar and put our own spin on it. Like if tomorrow we saw something that we normally do and y'all was doing it, I ain't gonna be upset about it. I'm just like, oh yeah, man. Like it might be something we thought is minuscule.
No, but I think it just fuels me to keep going. It's more inspirational than it is anything. I mean, this is the way I see it. I mean, it really does. I mean, because like I told you before, mine was little different when we started this. Of course, I was told to do this by the higher up, which is God, right? But in the way that it kind of maturated down now, it's still a blessing to have you all on, have Mike here. I mean, it's more of a fellowship type thing now. I mean, really, even though sometimes we see the people after they leave here, but it's still like it's always that lasting effect. Hey, they they supported us, we supported them, that type of thing. And I really believe it's more about support. And I think seeing this and seeing what you're getting ready to do, May the 16th, right, 6:00. I think it's going to do that as well because they'll see, oh man, look at this, because like I told you, I've been there before, to the Playhouse before. It's a nice setup, and I think, like I said, getting more young and old, whoever it may be, viewers out there is going to be a big thing. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big thing. And like I said, so when it does blow up, tell me a little bit. Have you looked down the tunnel a little bit to see,
I want to experience it as it happens.
Right.
I don't want to think too hard about it. If it does blow up, I mean, great. I just like to experience it in real time. But I think that with the live show, I'm really excited for it because, like I say, it's gonna make the community feel like they have a say and make them feel a little bit more important. But I'm just excited to pass a good message along. I'm not really for the showboating and stuff, even though I'm not afraid to be on the camera.
Right. I think a lot of that is, professionalism, right? Just like today, I mean, like, you all three, I don't know, I didn't get the message, but I was a little, but those things I think goes a long way as well. That I've been going, you in the chaplain, being a chaplain, right?
Yeah.
Just approach, right? Certain situations very difficult in your line of work, right?
Yeah. Like for me, try to tell people, man, look, I'm not trying to miss current blessings looking for future glory.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we can look too far ahead,
right?
Because we all, what they call it, delusions of grandeur, so to speak. Like for me, it's all about the impact that we're making now.
Right.
I'm trying to sow seeds that somebody else is going to reap in the future.
That's right.
I'm not trying to do this thing for the monetary reasons or for the popularity, because what they say, more money, more problems. I like same thing with influence. The more influence you have, the more people going to try to push you out your comfort zone and stuff like that. And yeah, sometimes it is a divine push, but I don't want to move too fast or too early that I miss God in the moment.
No, you're right.
So,
I think you're right. And having you on kind of making me think that, like you said, for the premise of, community focus. That's the premise of it. I think, like I said, I haven't seen, and like maybe it's just because they don't show it a lot, but I haven't seen a lot of community-based shows. And maybe that's me needing to look for them. But I think, like I said before, but why not in Beckley? Why not Square Business Podcast? Why not, those things? Because I think, when we see that, like I said, when I talk about trailblazers and things like that, like I said before, that's what I see it as. I really do, because I think, when young kids can see this, when adults can see this, they can feel proud of the product that you put out, right? And now it's going to be showcased. And that's why I said it. I mean, you don't need solidified, because I think you're already. But sometimes, the court of public opinion, they say, oh, man, this is what they're doing. It's like one of those things. And I think, going live, like I said before, I look forward to seeing it and bringing other people, like I said, forward to the forefront and showing, their talents as well, as far as, being your panel, you be built up. And I think it is one of those things that's going to be great. I really do believe that. Tell me, when we end, just tell me this right now, real quick. So tell me, as far as your new season, I know you said you're going to close this one down. Just a little bit about, that part of it. Like seasons and things like that as well. Like, making it, be able to tape. I'm trying to get the question out. I've seen how to work it. But that's a great concept. Because you had talked about it before, so you can go on YouTube now, right, and pick. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to get at. You can pick. Right. You can talk about that a little bit.
You can go on our YouTube page, youtube.com/RSPhotos93, and it'll take you right to our page. You can hit the playlist tab, and it will show you season 1 and season 2. Yep. So the way I formatted the seasons was 9 episodes to a season. Okay. Referring back to the golf aspect, first 9 holes, front 9 and back 9.
Oh yeah, I like it.
And so on. So we do 9 episodes per season. Right. We're getting ready to wrap that second season up, and then we'll start on season 3. Like I say, still working on some ideas to add some a few extra segments to the show, just to make it a little more interesting. We try to, every episode we do, we don't want it to seem like we're like preaching to the audience. Not preaching in a biblical
I know what you mean.
We're just saying we need to do this, we need to do that.
Right.
So it's all about organic conversation, and I'm working on that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I think as we grow and as we learn, you'll start to see that growth and maturity in the show as we go on. And I think that's like season 3, man. We've got some ideas that we're working on, some some new twists to the show and stuff like that, man. And you'll turn it on one day and then be like, that's new. So
that's great.
I think that's the thing, is just like not to keep you guessing, but to also to spark an interest or idea every now and again in a new episode.
So, and, just to end up, I think, when we talk about success and making it, I think listening to you speak, both of you, that's what it is. The success is helping others. The success is planting the seed. The success is, uplifting others. I think that's the key. And like I said before, so if they didn't know, that's what they know now, that this is what Square Business is all about. And that's a great thing, I believe. I mean, I think it needs to be more. I mean, like I said before, not competition, more support than anything. And that's what we're trying to do as well. I mean, we're trying to do, so any way we can help, we're trying to, but one way you can watch us and say, hey, they messed up this. No, just one of those things is like I said before, I'm super excited about it.
We would love to have you guys on our show.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, like I said, it'd be great. I mean, like I said before, I just think, support is big. I mean, and I really thank you all for both coming.
Appreciate y'all.
I mean, before we end, can you speak a little bit about, like I said, the live event again? I know we spoke about this. Tell the fans, everybody.
Yeah. So May 16th, 6 p.m. at the Raleigh Playhouse and Theater, live podcast experience. Myself, Curtis, Trina Tellez, Courtney Settle, and Michelle Tunstall, all professionals in the mental health field. We're going to be talking about community healing, more specifically, learning how to trust each other or trust ourselves so we can learn how to trust each other better. We'll have a few topics to speak on, but there will be a Q&A experience as well to get you guys involved and make you feel like part of the conversation. And we're looking forward to connecting with you guys. If you need a ticket, you can reach out to me or Curtis. We have tickets on hand, or you can purchase them at the door. They're $10. Right now, we got 30 free tickets available, courtesy of Donakey LLC and Dr. Christy Dumas. We appreciate both of those entities. Now we're just looking forward to it. We're excited.
Yeah. Reach out to us on our Facebook page. Also the email that we have, Square Business Pod. It's SQUAREBIDNESSPOD @gmail. I had to get that spelling right because everybody's like, is it business? No, it's Bidness.
There we go. And I like that. A couple of things for the Kollective. We have a youth opioid prevention workshop coming up. Several speakers. It's April the 26th, 2 to 5 at Mount Hope Community Center. It's right beside church, so I say that all the time. But come out. You have some, like I said, great speakers. It's on the border of both Raleigh and Fayette, so that's just a good thing. Trying to move over into Fayette County. Did an event, You Are Not Alone, last Friday. It was great, right there in the town of Oak Hill. They were very welcoming, the mayor, and all the other residents as well. So, we really appreciate us, being invited in order to do You Not Alone. And it was a great, event as well. Also, just real quick, we have a new newsletter, thanks to Adrian Banks, who works with the summit. It's called The Kollective Current. It'll be out every 2 weeks. You can access this through thesummitcollective.org. It's our website. Go on there. If anybody has any community events, we'll be putting their event on there as well, showcasing it so everybody can get it. And she usually puts a link to where you can go directly to, the site of where it's at. So, she's super talented. Like I said, I'm so glad to have her on board. And like I said, but just look for more things. Like I said, anything you want to put in community events, you hit us. It shows it on the website is where you can go email it. It's too long. I can't spell it good, so it's too long to tell you, but it's on there. And like I said, I want to thank you all for listening. And like I said, for May 16th, 6 o'clock, Raleigh Playhouse Theater, right on Neville Street.